Hey guys, you're in a nutshell with me, Ina. Alam niyo, to yung pinag-uusapan ko na pababa na yung bilang ng mga bagong workers, temporary residents na tinatanggap ng Canada. I often see comments expressing doubt, na parang, hindi totoo yan, sinasabi lang ng gobyerno yan. Ang dami-dami pa rin mga tao dito. Okay? Yan po ang ating pag-uusapan today because hihimayin natin ang official data ng IRCC patungkol sa temporary resident population. At ngayon, masasagot na natin yung tanong ng marami, parang kailan mo talaga mararamdaman daw yung sinasabi nilang pagliit o pagbabawas ng temporary resident population dito? Kailan mararamdaman yan? Yan ang ating sasagutin with our suki, Lou Johnson Dangzalan. Ayan. So, ang topic natin, temporary residents sa Canada, nababawasan ba talaga, Lou? Because, it's a common, I guess, inaabangan ng marami, lalo na, alam mo na, yung talagang supportive sa pagbabawas, paglilimata sa mga bagong tao dito, sinasabi nila, nag-iimbento lang yata itong gobyerno eh. Hindi ko naman nararamdaman na umaalis yung mga tao dito dahil ganun pa din na nakikita nila sa labas. Yan ang sinasabi nila. So how do you explain it, Lou? Ito pala yung email, ayan, pinalitan ko ang email ni Lou.
Guys, kasi, basahin nyo mabuti yung report. Kung nadidisappoint kayo na hindi nababawasan yung kapal ng tao dun sa bus number 22 ninyo sa umaga, na kung saan kayo working class at marami mga immigrants nga, kung babasahin nyo mabuti yung report, nakasulat naman doon na ito yung mga active visas, diba? Yeah. Active permits na in effect pa rin. So halimbawa, yung sinasabi nila na yung arrivals, for example, pababa ng pababa. Actually, ang baba ng mga decline, diba? Very significant. So new student arrivals down 60%. So, workers 48%. Pero ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, bumaba yung mga nag-arrive. So actually, nagdagdagan. Pero you have to make some assumptions. Yung assumption is maraming mga permits na nag-expire. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, na 9 out of 10 umuwi.
Okay.
That's fine. Pero hindi nyo nararamdaman na bumababa pa rin yung, hindi pa rin nyo nararamdaman na bumababa, malamang nag-extend sila. Diba?
Yeah.
Kasi nasa maintained status sila, lalo na't alam natin na ngayon, kung hihimayin nyo yung datos, hindi naman nakalagay dyan yung mga naka-maintained status, for example.
Correct.
Or yung mga nag-convert into visitor records. So, ito yung mga invisible data points dito sa report na to. Maganda siyang tignan. And I commend the government for being transparent about this. Kasi dati, Ina, sabi ko sa'yo, matagal na akong sumusubaybay sa numbers ng IRCC. Pero back then, since 2018, kailangan every quarter nag-i-ATIP ako para alam ko kung ano yung movement ng mga ano ba yung approval rate average for like a visitor visa, for a study permit, work permit, ano yung mga age groups, for example. So ngayon, mas transparent sila. So maganda. Pero yun nga, meron ka pa rin capacity to actually read the finer details of this. So yun nga yung natin today.
Okay, let's look at the summary, no? Meron naman tama, sinabi ni Lou, 60% fewer yung student arrivals between January and September 2025 compared to the same period last year. Ang ibinaba niyan, more than 150,000 study permits. Ang laki, di ba? Sa temporary foreign workers naman, it's down by 48%. Ang period covered, same, January to September 2025 compared to last year, same period. Ang ibinaba, 158,000 plus. Okay, ang lalaki. And yet, guys, ito naman, yung bilang ng nandito na sa loob. Okay? Lahat nung naka-study permit lang, ayan, 473,000 plus. Lahat nung naka-work permit only, okay, almost 1.5 million. Tapos yung merong pareho, 251 million. Okay? Tignan niyo yung chart. Actually, yung merong mga work permit, parang tumaas pa ng kaunti. Okay, study permit, ayun, medyo pababa. Pero yung sa both, na merong work and study permit, it's slightly down. Pero medyo flat din in a way. Diba? So, it tells me, Lou, people are not leaving yet.
Not yet. Kasi una sa lahat, di ba, yung mga international students, pwede pa sila mag-transition into PGWP. Di ba? So, kaya nakikita mo tumataas yung inventory nung sa work permit, 'di ba, compared to the international.
Bakit ganun, Lou?
There's a bulge kasi 'di ba, may bumababa nga yung intake mo ng students. Syempre yung mga study permits mag-expire pero magta-transition sila to PGWP. So you have to wait for the thing to pass. Sorry, medyo graphic. Pero yun nga, kaya tingin mo talagang mag-move out sila. So, I think in multiple occasions nag-usap na tayo about this. 2026 is a major year. You know why? Kasi ito yung pandemic bulge. Nagsimula na dumami yung mga tao sa Canada through the study pathway in 2020 kasi nagbukas ulit ng Canada as of October 2020. So kung kukwentahin ninyo yan, kung nag-start sila, for example, ng September of 2021, gagraduate sila ng April of 2023 kung 2-year program. Tapos kung 2023 April, back then, 1 month lang ang PGWP processing. Good old days, di ba? So, 2023 June, 3 years from that is June 2026. So, next year, ang daming mga work permits na mag-expire. So, yung, balik tayo dun sa table na yun, yung graph, di ba? Yung bulge na yun, that's okay. Perfect. Yung graph na yun, yung nasa gitna, yung dami ng yung work permits na yan, bababa yan. Diba? Ang question, aalis ba yan?
Correct.
Kasi iba, pwedeng maging permanent residents. Diba? Una sa lahat. Marami uuwi, hopefully. Diba? At least, dapat compliant. Diba? Pero hindi mo maipagkakaala na yung iba dyan mag-a-apply ng asylum, yung iba dyan maghahanap ng ibang pathway, kasama na dyan ng AFAM pathway, pwede rin refugee pathway, humanitarian, diba? Madami silang hanash. Yung iba naman nasa maintained status dahil magko-convert to visitor for a few months, nandun sila sa maintained. Iba naman magsasubmit ng magic empty work permit, diba? Para makapag-continue sila ng trabaho, diba? Kasi alam naman natin, ang tagal ng work permit processing ngayon. So that will buy you several months and pwede kang makaipon at least ng pamasahe mo. Madaming gagawa niyo. So it will take time.
Correct. And what you're saying is, yung movement dito sa graph na to, para maglilipat-lipat lang ng category yung mga tao. Kasi parang yung iba, syempre, will still find a way to extend, hopefully legally, diba? Maglilipat lang sila ng permit. Magpapalit lang sila ng permit. I think there's something lacking, Lou, when it comes to tracking of government's tracking of people who are leaving. Lagi ko ito pinag-uusapan, ano? Wala silang monitoring system and they only expect people to voluntarily leave. Yeah, paano yun how will the government then come up with more accurate figures about what's going on and how will it meet its target kung di nga niya alam kung talagang umaalis yung mga akala nitong aalis?
Alam mo, ang ganda ng question mo sa totoo lang. Kasi maalala mo, di ba, a few weeks ago, I was in Australia. So, as a Canadian, nung pumunta ako sa Australia, I require an electronic travel authorization or ETA, visa exempt. Ito yung ETA app ng, i-disable ko lang to. So, makikita niyo yung jacket ko sa likod. So, makikita niyo, ito yung, blur pa rin siya. Bakit kaya? Anyway, may app itong si Australia na napakaganda. Kasi nga, makikita mo yung status ng electronic travel authorization mo. Ito yung,
blurry pa din siya, Lou.
Okay. Sorry. And, pero makikita nyo yun, ETA. Tapos makikita nyo yung yung detalye. Anong status mo as a visa holder or ETA holder. Nandun yung nung nandun ako sa loob ng Australia, nakikita ko, you are currently in Canada. In Australia. You are currently in Australia, you are authorized to stay for this number of days. Nainggit ako.
Yeah.
Nainggit ako sa Australia. Sabi ko, sana ganito din sa sa Canada. Tapos kausap ko yung pinsan ko na doon nga naghanap ng kanyang PR pathway and fortunes. Ngayon, citizen na siya, nandun na sila sa Melbourne. Kinikwento niya sa akin kasi in-apply ko siya ng visa to Canada at that time. Matagal na yun actually, nung hindi pa siya citizen ng Australia. So, in-apply ko siya, tapos may binigay siya sa akin status document, tapos nung pinadala niya sa akin, same day. So, in other words, nag-apply siya ng proof of status in Australia, electronic, andun kagad. Imagine! Ang galing, hindi siya mabilis kasi hindi siya human, like automatic system. They automated everything. So, in other words, from a monitoring standpoint, Ina, nakikita mo yung power ng technology, di ba? Very useful for administration. So, yung question mo, babalik tayo, paano nila i-monitor? Abay, titignan nila yung issuance, tapos i-assume nila na aalis ka. That's it. Pansit. Sa Canada ba, yung mga nakabiyahe, for example, papasok ka ng, di ba, pag lalabas ka ng Pilipinas, di ba, may immigration exit. Naalala ko yung pinsan ko nung umalis siya ng Canada for the first time nung bumisita lang siya. Ay, parang may mali, kasi nakaboard ako ng aeroplano, walang dumaan na immigration.
Puro security kiosk dito puro kiosk.
Walang immigration exit ng Canada. Ano ka ba?
Hindi ko na nga maalala. Wala ba?
Wala. Walang immigration exit ng Canada. Entry lang.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, di ba? So, paano mo matatrack, di ba?
I remember. Kasi twice din ako umuwi last year, There's a kiosk. I think that's for customs pala.
To get into Canada or to get out?
No, to go out. To go out.
Walang customs kiosk ng Canada. Palabas. Mag-check-in ka lang sa airline mo. That's it, pansit. Dadaan ka lang sa security. That's it. Sa boarding gate.
I didn't even realize it.
Ganun yun.
Bakit ganun lang, Lou? Bakit?
Isang magandang tanong yan for the government of Canada and the government of the United States of America under President Trump. Diba kasi common travel, hindi naman common travel area, but like aligned kasi yung travel policies ng Canada and the US. So, kung maglalagay ng exit controls ng Canada, from an administrative standpoint, mas maganda sana siya kasi monitor mo kung sino yung in compliance at hindi.
Yeah.
Diba? That's one thing. Pangalawa, alam mo ba yung pinsan ko, first time niya mag-apply ng Schengen visa for Europe. So, inissuean siya ng French consulate sa Manila. Great, fantastic. Pero may condition. After mo bumalik from your supposed vacation in Paris, kailangan mag-report ka sa consular offices ng Manila.
Dapat ganun man lang din, 'di ba?
May checks, 'di ba? May checks. Tsaka sa Europe, Ina, sasabihin ko sa'yo, pagka pumasok ka, dadaan ka immigration. Pagka lumabas ka, dadaan ka ulit na immigration. Canada does not have that. The US does not have that. So, from a monitoring perspective, if you think about it, mas madaling makalusot through the cracks, diba? So, from an enforcement standpoint, ang hirap magbilang.
Correct. The way I see it, the only time they will know if somebody is overstaying is if you encounter an immigration officer at some point na makikita, sa kanila i-check, diba? Or may magsumbong. Or
episode ka na yan. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, that's the only way they will actually know.
Correct.
It's not like may mag-a-alert sa kanila na, oy, itong taong to na taga Scarborough, Toronto.
Correct.
Nobody will do that.
There are 2 points there. Pero before ko dadalhin sa points ko, bibigyan kita ng isang example pa kung paano pa pwedeng malaman. Isang African client ko dati, yung country niya, hindi ko sasabihin, pero wala silang embahada or konsulado sa Canada. So, ibig sabihin, nung time na niya mag-renew ng passport to basically make their application sa Canada, nag-apply siya ng passport niya sa embassy ng bansa niya sa loob ng US. At dinaan niya via FedEx or Canada Post or whatever. Basta minil yun kasi by mail yan di ba? Papasok yung passport ng Canada, CBSA inspects goods that go into Canada. So nakita nila yung passport na detect. So sa CBSA officer, scan, this person's permit ran out in 2007.
Yon, okay, I see. So that's it. All right.
That's another way. So ito trace if a flag yan, tapos papadala sa enforcement. Until one day, knock, inaresto siya ng CBSA sa kanyang apartment, 'di ba?
Wow,
so, naka-bail siya, kinontak kami. So we fixed the situation for him. Okay na siya.
Yeah.
But yun nga like Yeah, PR, I think citizen na nga ata siya at this point. Pero yun nga, nung time na yun, talagang inaresto siya. Nag-attend kami ng mga detention, sa detention center, ganun, etc., etc. It was touch and go. Pero that's another way for CBSA to find out. Madaming ways, pero bakit kasi walang exit controls, bakit kasi walang monitoring, etc. Yun yung magandang tanong para sa ating mga MP.
And I just remembered, I watched this committee hearing sa Parliament a couple of weeks ago, and the CBSA official there mentioned that inamin niya na talagang they rely on tips pagdating dun sa mga dapat umalis.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so sad, no? And sige, balikan natin tong what's this, the report. Nakasulat din talaga dito, Luno. The measures will only start to appear a few months after they begin. Yung results, no? Nung sinasabing pagbabawas.
Right.
So it will take time for the full effects to appear in the data. So again, that is assuming that people will voluntarily leave, and we will see. Pero si Lou, ang forecast niya, we will start seeing more people, even more people leaving sa 2026. And you think it will come more of from the PGWP holders?
Yeah, a lot of PGWP or holders are set to expire next year. So that will be interesting kasi ang daming PGWP sa inventory. So ang tanong dito, kaya ba nila i-transition yung PGWP nila into something else later on, like a BOWP? Kung meron na silang PR application, di ba? So iba pang type of work permit like LMIA, closed work permit, LMIA exempt na closed work permit, kung may nomination sila, depende, di ba? Yeah. And that's assuming that they stay in status, or yun nga, kung hindi sila mag-TNT, di ba? And they're assuming that those who give up don't necessarily just like slip through the cracks and just like stay or aalis sila. So maraming pa-expire pero hindi natin alam kung ano mangyayari. You can be assured na may portion dyan na magti-TNT. May iba dyan mag-file ng asylum to buy more time in Canada. Diba?
Alam mo that undocumented, staying here undocumented deserves another episode.
Oh, yes.
Kasi I think dadami ng gusto yung population na yan. Undocumented. And then I don't know what mechanism Canada has to monitor this, especially. Diba? Hindi nga nila alam ngayon, hindi ko nga alam kung ano ba talaga ang estimate dyan eh. Well, how can you have one undocumented nga? Mahirap naman talaga.
I mean, they glean the statistics, diba? May ways na may mga statisticians at demographers. So for example, sino ba, how many OHIP cards do you have? For example, in a given like square kilometer of Toronto, tapos gaano karami yung gumagamit sa isang clinic or sa isang hospital region na naka-OHIP, nagmamatch ba? Pangalawang punto, sino yung mga gumagamit na walang OHIP? How do they pay? Insurance, etc. May mga datos through Ministry of Health. Sino yung mga nag-a-attend ng school? For example, na walang study permit ng mga minors. So you can glean stats. Kasi legally, actually, I spoke to my friend who is a sitting member of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. Sabi niya, tinanong ko, bros, kapag wala kang status, technically, di ba, dapat you're still in school as a child by law. Sabi niya, yes. Except it becomes very tricky with the school boards. They don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. Actually, may dalawa akong cases about this.
Yeah.
Meron akong, may nakarating sa akin na out of status sila. The parents, out of, dahil honest sila, dineclare nila sa school. So the school said, unfortunately, hindi na siya pwede pumasok. But I think, in a way, they also mentioned that, alam mo kung hindi mo sinabi, we would not know and she would have just continued going. So we don't know talaga the rules, no? Ano ba talaga?
The truth is, even in tingnan mo, sa Amerika, ang daming mga bata nag-a-attend ng school, for example, walang status, di ba? Pati pamilya nila walang status. Sa Canada, nagtataka tayo, bakit yung mga bata hindi makapag-attend kung wala na silang status? By law, sabi nga nung kaibigan ko na sitting MLA, dapat nag-a-attend sila ng school kasi no child should be left behind. That's a principle under the law. Pero yun nga, paano to? Kasi may conflict, diba? Dahil if you're in Canada, you must maintain regular status and you must be, etc. So, hindi pa kasi lumalapag sa korte yung question na to. At hindi pa na-resolve ba. I tried to look for a case in Canada that actually talks about this. Wala pang matapang na gustong mag-litigate at gawin silang example for this. I think mananalo yung walang status for primary and secondary. Unless yung federal government gamitin nila yung notwithstanding clause ng kasi may overriding clause ng federal government and immigration is a federal law. But at the same time, pwede itong constitutional litigation sa Canada kasi education is governed by the province and the federal government cannot interfere in that. So, away to sa Supreme Court, I think. So, ang problem, walang brave to actually contest it.
All right. Last question na lang pala, semi-related na rin dito.
Sure.
Yung mga temporary workers trying to find a way to stay by finding lamiyas. If you have any observations about employers still offering or having lamiyas, significantly ba feel mo na nabawasan talaga ng husto na sobrang konti na lang talaga? Baka lang meron kang observation, ano?
Yes. Thank you for the question, and I do have an observation. I will say that the ones who are really serious are pursuing it. Which,
What do you mean?
In a way, the policy objective of only having legitimate LMIAs are moving forward. Mga employers din na nagpupursige, talagang may real need sila because they have to do the high wage. I've had some clients who have had success in getting their employers to offer high wage, which is great for them. Pero at the same time, dun sa low wage, below median nga, talagang wala na talaga. Parang may almost universal understanding na bakit ko babayaran ng $34 an hour yung low-skilled or semi-skilled na pwede naman ako mag-hire within Canada. And they know that the optics are not good as well. Pwede silang mailagay sa news. Hindi ako magugulat kung yung Tim Hortons naglabas sila ng memo to their franchise owners na, okay, we've been in the news several times. Maybe we should reassess if we really need our foreign nationals. Pero case by case yun, di ba? Kasi
you think?
Wala talaga. Nagme-memo mga corporations na ganyan. So I'm sure that Tim Hortons did that. I'm sure McDonald's did the same. Kasi nga maingat din because of the political climate. Ang last thing they want is mako-cross-examine sila sa House of Commons, di ba? Yung representative ng Tim Hortons kaharap po si Michelle Rempel Garner, di ba? Kamusta?
Yeah, okay. Well, ako din, I sense that at least from what I see, alam mo na, mamili tayo minsan mag-monitor ng mga kababayan natin on social media. Ang dami talagang naghahanap ng mga lamia and it's so hard to find. But then, in a way, with what you're saying, the policy changes are working when it comes to maintaining yung integrity ng program na talagang, yung sinasabi kasi ni Lou, yung mga kumukuha na lang at talagang willing mag-adjust ng sweldo pataas, obviously, kailangan nila talaga.
Precisely. Yeah, precisely. But again, as a final note on this is they could have easily achieved this if they actually took enforcement under LMIA, compliance and monitoring seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I read the Auditor General's report about, enforcement of lamia at isa sa mga clear findings nila doon over the past years was that hindi nasusunod yung Canadian First na concept dapat. Hindi nila alam kung nasusunod yun. But anyway, okay, thank you so much, Lou. This is it for this episode. So yung mga dyan, alam kong atat na atat kayong makaramdam ng pagluluwag sa inyong mga lugar. Merong mga ganyan Lou. Nasagot na ni Attorney Lou ang inyong tanong kung bakit palagay ninyo hindi pa rin lumiliit yung temporary resident population. Okay? So that's it. Guys, yung email ni Lou ay yung gumagapang dyan sa baba if you wanna get in touch with him. Okay? I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!